Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for an evening of reflection. To begin the Yom HaShoah commemorative program, please welcome to the stage Pete Crane, Vice President of Education and Access for the National WWII Museum.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the National WWII Museum and New Orleans Jewish Community Center Holocaust Memorial Committee's 2025 Yom HaShoah commemorative program, sponsored by the Rubin Family Endowment for Holocaust Programs. For those of you that have not been with us before, we have a wonderful tradition here at the National WWII Museum to remember and commemorate those for whom this museum was built. While I don't know if we have any World War II veterans with us tonight, we do have two Holocaust survivors, Anne Levy and Leila Millen. So if you are a Holocaust survivor, a World War II veteran, or a home front worker, please wave your hand, stand up, or be recognized. And we do have the two Holocaust survivors right in the front. So please join me in recognizing them and welcoming them. And now also, I'd like to recognize other veterans. If you have ever worn the uniform of our country in service of our nation, please stand or wave your hand to be recognized. Thank you. We have a special evening planned tonight. For the next hour, we will remember and honor those who were murdered in the Holocaust as part of our annual commemoration. And later, after a short break following this program, we'll be joined by internationally recognized historian, human rights activist, and pioneering researcher on genocide, Father Patrick Dubois. Father Dubois' work began with uncovering the atrocities of the Holocaust by bullets, the mass execution of more than 2 million Jews in Eastern Europe by Nazi death squads. We look forward to having Father Dubois share his work exposing the forgotten crimes of the Holocaust by bullets with us. But before we begin, I'd like to recognize some of our other community partners who were influential in planning this evening's event. First, the Anti-Defamation League, the Jewish Federation of Greater New Orleans, and the Museum of Southern Jewish Experience and Loyola University. Special thanks also to John Menzer for the poignant display here in the U.S. Freedom Pavilion, Holocaust Survivors, Portraits and Conversations, and I hope everyone had the opportunity to look through there and speak with them. As you walked in tonight, you also saw the display Weight of the Worlds that was curated by Dr. Naomi Yavnaklos of Loyola University and her students. These community and student efforts make tonight's program even more memorable. So thanks to all of you for your work. Yom HaShoah is the day we remember those who were systematically murdered in the Holocaust and honor the heroism of the survivors, the resistance fighters, and their liberators. Here at the National World War II Museum, we know that now more than ever, in the face of continuing widespread anti-Semitism, and the voices of those who would, despite all evidence to the contrary, deny that this tragedy ever occurred, it's critical that we share the experiences of those who survived the Holocaust. Their stories serve as a warning to history of the dangers of ignorance and hatred. We're grateful to the New Orleans Jewish Community Center's partnership in all of these efforts, especially through this shared commemoration. Thank you to the Jewish Community Center. And with that, please join me in welcoming the co-chairs of the New Orleans Jewish Community Center Holocaust Memorial Committee, Ruth Leffelholtz and Rosalind Morris.
Good evening and welcome to the JCC World War II Museum Holocaust Memorial Program. We are honored to have you here to commemorate the millions of lives lost during one of the deepest, darkest periods in human history. Your presence here today is a testament to your commitment to remembrance and education, and we are truly grateful for your support in our mission to ensure that the atrocities of the Holocaust are never forgotten. This program is especially near and dear to our hearts because our parents were Holocaust survivors. Ruthie and I, as children of survivors, grew up together, bonded not just by friendship, but by shared history. Like many in our community, we had few, if any, extended family members left. We became like family to one another. Our parents determined to ensure that their tragedy would not be lost to time, came together to form a committee, one dedicated to remembrance and to educating future generations. We continue this tradition today in their honor. After seeing the Father Desbois special on 60 Minutes 10 years ago, it has always been a goal of mine to bring him in to share his work and speak at our Yom HaShoah program. And I am so grateful to see that this has come to fruition this evening.
As you entered the pavilion, you saw photographs and accompanying stories of some of our local survivors. Even though Pete thanked him once, I want to thank him again. Our deepest thanks go to John Menzer for creating and digitalizing these powerful portraits. We want to extend a special thank you to the World War II Museum and its incredible staff for this year's partnership, which enables us to expand our reach. We look forward to continuing our partnership. And thank you all for joining us as we come together to honor the memory of the victims, to celebrate the resilience of the survivors, and to reaffirm our dedication to promoting tolerance, compassion, and understanding in our world. Thank you. You want to go stand on the corner?
Ladies and gentlemen, direct your attention to the procession of Holocaust survivors, along with second and third generation family members of survivors, as they place candles of remembrance at the front of the room. Please welcome to the stage Rabbi David Cohen Enriquez of Shir Hadash Conservative Congregation.
Tonight we gather in sacred remembrance. Yom HaShoah is not simply a day on the calendar. It is a rupturing time that we return to each year. A moment to hold memory that is too vast to contain and too sacred to forget. We remember 6 million Jews, mothers and fathers, children and elders whose lives were taken in the Shoah. We remember the communities erased, the voices silenced, the songs unsung. And we remember all those who were targeted, persecuted, and murdered simply for being who they were. Roma and Sinti, LGBTQ+ individuals, people with disabilities, political dissidents, and others whose lives were deemed unworthy by a regime built on hate. We remember the millions more who died in the war that this hatred unleashed. Soldiers and civilians, families torn apart, a world broken by violence. But memory is not only about loss. It is also about presence. Tonight we honor survivors, the witnesses who carry the stories. We honor those who rebuilt Jewish life with resilience and faith. And we commit ourselves to the promise, never again, not just in word, but in action, vigilance, and solidarity. And yet tonight we not only remember the past, but also confront the present. We are living in times that carry frightening echoes of what came before. We see it on campuses, in political halls, on social media, and on the streets. Hatred toward Jews unleashed across ideologies and nations, from all sides of the political spectrum and all walks of life. This is the oldest hatred in the world, and it always finds new disguises. Anti-Semitism is a virus that mutates. It began with religion, shifted to race, now hides behind politics. But it is the same hatred, the same denial of a people's right to exist with dignity and safety. And as history has shown us again and again, what starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews. To remember the Shoah is not only to grieve the past, it is to sound the alarm in the present. It is to speak out, to stand strong, and to teach our children what it means to be Jews who remember, and Jews who refuse to be silent. May the memory of those who perished in the Shoah be a blessing to us. May their lives inspire us to pursue justice, compassion, and peace. May the resilience of survivors teach us courage. May the pain of this history open our hearts not to despair, but to deeper love. May we never forget that our strength lies not in hiding who we are, but in living it out with pride and purpose. May the flame we kindle tonight keep alive the light of our people for generations to remember and generations yet to come. Zichronam livracha. May their memory be for a blessing. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as cantoral soloist Jordan Lawrence performs the U.S. National Anthem and the Hatikva.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Kolod balev av penima, nefesh Yehudi homiya, ulfatem Mizrach kadima, Ailet Zion Sophia, Od lo Tikvatenu, Hatikva bat shnot alpayim, Liotam chofshi be'artzeinu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim, Liotam chofshi be'artzeinu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated. Please welcome to the stage Museum Board of Trustee member and event sponsor, Karen Rubin.
Good evening. As a board trustee, I'd like to formally welcome you to the National WWII Museum Freedom Pavilion Boeing Center. I can think of no better location in the country, except maybe the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C., to host a Yom HaShoah commemoration. How privileged New Orleans is to have this treasured institution located in its city limits. At this time, I'd like to introduce my sister, Michelle, and my older son, Aaron, who traveled with me to be here for this event. Most importantly, I'd like to recognize my mom for all that she has done for this museum and continues to do so. You are my inspiration. "80 years ago, at the conclusion of World War II, the world experienced a cataclysmic shock. Film and still footage of the horrors of the German-run concentration camps. During the war, there were mysterious reports of Jews being taken to camps, but for the majority of Americans, they were quickly dismissed as being overblown or a bad rumor. I believe it is safe to say that the footage that General Eisenhower insisted be filmed and photographed convinced many Americans that the horrors of World War II, the horrors that the European Jewish community experienced, were infinitely more than a bad rumor or an overblown report. Every generation of Jews wishes that their children and grandchildren never experience any anti-Semitism. It is seemingly ingrained in our ethos, and after thousands of years of experiencing it in a variety of different forms, it's nowhere close to being eradicated. I dare say that in our current climate, the ugly head of anti-Semitism rears its head in places we all thought were protected. I am here tonight not to remind us of the times we are living in, but to share with you the belief that my dad taught me, my siblings, and my children. Anti-Semitism is not a class one takes. Rather, it is taught at home and reinforced in select social circles and even in some schools. The Holocaust didn't happen just because the Germans needed someone to blame for their economic trouble. It happened because there was already an undercurrent of it in the German culture, and the political leadership exploited it. Anti-Semitism is not and should not be a partisan issue, but it acts as a harbinger of what society and our government can become. Left unchecked, well, those of us here know what happens when it's left unchecked. So we ask ourselves, what can we do? The most successful way to combat anti-Semitism is through education. This museum, and particularly the Liberation Pavilion, does a stellar job of educating the visitor on how the Holocaust started and what the American GIs witnessed when they liberated some of the camps. My father firmly believed that education, whether it was teaching someone a history lesson or encouraging his children to get advanced degrees, which none of us did, was the gift that kept on giving. We must seek out those who erroneously believe that Jews are the cause of this country's problems and educate them on what happens when one starts to blame a minority group for what's wrong in this country. We must stand together in a united front against hate. My father, those who survived, and those who were murdered in the Holocaust experienced the ultimate example of man's inhumanity to man. I think that they would be shocked and disgusted at the meteoric and disturbing increase in anti-Semitic activity across this country. We owe it to them to never forget. May their memory guide our actions to what's happening in the present. And now it's my privilege to have you meet my dad. Thank you.
My memory goes back to when I was 2. Most of the memories growing up were not good. So I try not to dwell on the bad parts of my youth as opposed to my good parts. I remember my grandparents my father's parents, being taken. I went to the train station to say goodbye to them. That was probably 1942. And I remember going to the train depot, saying goodbye to them. I knew then I would never see them again. They arrested my mother and my brother, myself. My father was not living with us at that time for the simple reason if we got caught, we all wouldn't be caught at the same time or caught at all. And so we wound up at the Gestapo headquarters, and first person we met was our father. He was caught the day before. My father bribed the Germans to send us there because he knew there was no gas chamber there at that time. I get very emotional when I think about that. It was a long trip, and I remember the odor in the car after the first day, and there were no facilities at all. There was one basin, and in an hour or two, the odor was just unbearable. From then on till we arrived in Terezin. It's not that far away from where we were. We were in a camp called Sered, which was like a transit camp, and it took days to get to Terezin. And we all couldn't lay down at the same time and sleep. So everybody took turns for a few hours laying down, and the other half of the people had to sit up to make room for the ones that are sleeping, then the reverse. And it was a long, long trip. Most of the people that went to Terezin, from there they went to Auschwitz, never to be seen again. We had rumors that the Russians were going to come and liberate us. So my brother and I went to the embankment because Terezin was a fort. At Maria Theresa's time, it was a fort. So there was an embankment. There was a flow, there was water in the old days when it was a real fort. We went to see the Germans retreat. So as they were retreating, they started shooting inside the camp. I could hear the bullets over my head. And my brother and I were laying on the embankment. I remember that vividly. And till they passed. And then we went back to the barrack where we lived with my mother. And I remember getting a spanking because she knew what happened, okay? It was after the fact. I didn't see the point of it, but nevertheless, I still remember the spanking. I give my father credit for keeping us alive towards the end. Until he caught the Gestapo person that caught us and him.
Your father apprehended the Gestapo agent?
Yes.
Who had arrested him?
And us.
And the family?
Yes. And he went to the trial, and he went to the hanging, because we weren't the only ones. And then we left and went back to his business.
Can you tell us something of your family's decision to move to the United States? How did that come about?
Well, it was all about anti-Semitism.
Please tell me more.
It's not simple. I used to be called Parshevy Žid. I don't know if...
Žid is Jew.
Žid is Jew, scabby. Scabby Jew. We came in on the Queen Mary. I stopped being sick because our stateroom was the lowest level you could get. And I got sick once we left Southampton, and I didn't stop getting sick till we found the breakwater in New York. We passed the Statue of Liberty. Very emotional.
When did the fear that had to have been a part of your little boy life, when did it begin to dissipate? When did you start saying this is...
But I got off the boat.
The moment you got off the boat?
Just about, yeah.
You knew you were in a new land?
I knew they were not going to call me Parshivijid.
Did you like to go into any further?
No, I just think it's like, I think I mentioned it a few times. What I think about a lot is how lucky I am.
For the rest of the program, we will be incorporating elements of a Yom HaShoah ceremony in accordance with Jewish traditions, including a candle lighting of the menorah. This menorah was made by Holocaust survivor Isaac Borenstein. Our first candle lighter will be Anne and Robin Levy, as well as Lila Millen and Jennifer Fertel. Father Patrick Dubois and Rosa Langley. Pam, Karen, and Michelle Rubin, and Aaron Zorman. Renee Zach and John Menzer. David and Lee Kirshner. Sammy Borenstein and Sabina Barash. Please welcome to the stage Cantor Rebecca Garfine of Temple Sinai. Please welcome to the stage Leopold Scher.
The traditional prayer, El Mole Rachamim,
translated loosely as God full of mercy, is a prayer in Hebrew for the soul of a person who has died, usually recited at the graveside during the burial service and recited at Yizkor services said 4 times per year in a synagogue. Yizkor meaning remember. This special El Molei Rachamim prayer that you're about to hear differs from the traditional El Molei Rachamim in that it is sprinkled with additional words in Yiddish, which is most fitting and appropriate because almost 5 million of the 6 million Jews murdered by the Nazis in the Holocaust spoke Yiddish as their first language. Unspeakingly tragic, 1.5 million of the Jews murdered by the Nazis were children. 6 million. We shall not forget. We shall not forget you. We shall not forget what they did to you. We shall not forget that they are trying to erase our memory of you and your very existence by denying that the Holocaust occurred. El Molei Rachamim, Shoy Hein Bam Roimim, Amatzei Menucha Nechoinu, Tachas Kanfei Hashina, B'malois Kedoshim, Kedoshim Utahoirim, Kazoa Harakia Meirim Umazirim, Es Nishmois, Aheni B'nei Yisrael HaKadoshim, HaKadoshim V'hatahoirim, Shinufli B'derotzim V'nishpachu Dimom, Be Auschwitz, Majdanek, Treblinka, Uvshar Machnos Hashemom B'Yerupo, Shenehergu for Shenisrafu, Shenisrafu for Shenischatu V'nikbru Chayim B'hol Misos Mishinois V'Aktzuriois. Al Kedushas Hashem, Bavur, Shenachnu, V'neim, Uvnoseim, Ahem, Vosem, Nodrim, Tzeduko, V'yaruskuru, Nishmoisehem. Begin Aiden, Tehei, Menucha Asom, Lo, Hein, Bal, Harachamim, Yastirim, Besese, Kanuvili, Olomim. Oy, Vitzroar, but Thror, Ha-Hayim, Es, Nish, Muhusom, Adonai hu nachlusom, v'yinuhum v'shalom, al mishkuhuvam, v'nohamar, Amen.
Please welcome to the stage Henry Rosenblatt for the recitation of names and the Kaddish.
I am humbled at the great honor that I have this evening to cross my lips with the names of those who should always be considered among the most revered of our New Orleans Jewish communities, Mishpucha, our family. The following is not just a list of names, but it's the lives, the extraordinarily courageous lives of those now deceased survivors who journeyed to New Orleans, made households, most raised families, and all became one large family. And all in the aftermath of surviving the horrors that none of us can truly conceive of. We are at all times charged with the responsibility to ensure that the Holocaust and the lives of the following persons shall always be remembered. Joseph Adler, Karl Baum, Simone Baum, Recha Baum, Margot Berger, Jack Berman, Violetta Berman, Felix Bibelkraut, Rose Bibelkraut, Kurt Bloch, Rene Bloch, Sigmund Borax, Margot Borax, Abish Borenstein, Isaac Borenstein, Paula Borenstein, Abe Brum, Anne Brum, Henry Brum, Guta Brum, Janine Burke, Inga Eltzis, Fred Ferran, Jean Ferran, Esther Feigenbaum, Jacob Feigenbaum, Felicia Fuchsman, Max Fuchsman, Eva Galler, Henry Galler, Joseph Gitlin, Sala Gitlin, Nusha Goldfarb, Salman Goldfarb, Jacob Grossman, Regina Halpern, Ernest Holzman, Udall Kersner, Sarah Kersner, Hyman Ladder, Molly Ladder, Abraham Langer, Helen Lasowski, Henry Lasowski, Abe Letterman, Toby Letterman, Joseph Lefkowitz, Rivka Lefkowitz, Lola Lieberman, Salman Lieberman, Harry Liverant, Beryl Loam, Gabe Matz, Shirley Matz, David Mizell, Margot Mendler, Leopold Mendler, Esther Nachamovsky, Joe Nachamovsky, Dora Nitterman, Isaac Nitterman, Frida Radosky, and Solomon Radosky, Ellie Ryder, Rudolph Ryder, Gertrude Rosenblatt, and Ralph Rosenblatt, Chaya Rosenberg, Bernard Ross, Frida Ross, Sarah Ross, Myrtle Rodesman, Nathan Rodesman, John Horst Schneidler, Abe Scher, Helen Scher, Henya Scher, Leo Scher, Joseph Scher, Rachel Scher, Rose Silver, Rose Newman Silvers, Mark Skoretky, Ruth Skoretky, Leon Smakora, Wolf Stein, Martin Wasserman, Lizette Wild, Gertrude Witakowski, Max Witakowski, Herman Weiser, Gina Weiser, Albert Usby, Eugenia Usby, and Shep Zittler. Will all please rise and join in the mourner's Kaddish for these holy people. Yet Gedal v'yet Gedash Shemei Rabbah, Ba'amad Yivarach Hirutei v'yamlich Malchutei, B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chal Beit Yisrael, Ba'gala uv'izman kariv v'yamru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mavorach, La'olam Olmei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yoman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei d'kedusha b'richu. Le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata adam miran b'alma v'yimru Amen. Yehei shalom araba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Oseh shalom bimramav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen.
Please welcome to the stage Alex Loomis.
us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Please welcome back to the stage Pete Crane.
Thank you. This has truly been a poignant evening of remembrance and reflection. The inclusion of Jewish traditions in tonight's program is the continuation of the annual tradition of the National WWII Museum in partnership with the New Orleans Jewish Community Center's Holocaust Memorial Committee, as we remember those lost in the Holocaust, its survivors, and their family members. Now, as we conclude the Yom HaShoah commemorative program, we'll have a short intermission before starting our presentation and discussion with Father Patrick Dubois. Please be back in your seats in 18 minutes at 7:15, and we'll begin then. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage Father John Cunningham, Vice President for Mission and Identity at Loyola University, New Orleans.
Good evening, and welcome back to our evening of reflection program. As Vice President for Mission and Identity at Loyola University, New Orleans, a Jesuit Catholic institution committed to combating anti-Semitism and all other forms of hate, I am honored to introduce Father Patrick Dubois, founder and president of Yahad and Unum, a global humanitarian organization dedicated to identifying and commemorating the sites of Jewish and Roma mass executions in Eastern Europe during World War II. Father Dubois himself is the grandson of a World War II French prisoner held in the Yava Ruska camp on the Poland-Ukraine border. Father Patrick Dubois is a renowned historian, forensic detective, and human rights activist dedicated to exposing and combating genocide. As the founder of Yahad and Unum, he has led a groundbreaking research on genocidal practices, including the Holocaust by bullets, the mass execution of 2 million Jews in Eastern Europe by Nazi death squads. Alongside the Yahad and Unum team, he has identified over 3,300 execution sites and recorded more than 8,000 witness testimonies. His work has also extended to investigating the Yazidi genocide and war crimes in Ukraine. In 2016, through his efforts, Yahad and Unum established the Museum of the Holocaust in Guatemala, which has trained hundreds of educators and welcomed thousands of students. Father Dubois has received numerous honors, including the Légion d'honneur from French President Emmanuel Macron. He is a professor at Georgetown University and continues to advocate for justice and human rights worldwide. Following the lecture, Father Dubois there will be a question and answer session moderated by Rabbi Katie Bowman from Touro Synagogue. Audience members, both attending in person and online, could submit a question by scanning the QR code on the screen. Museum staff will be standing by monitoring and selecting questions that will be provided by Rabbi Bowman for the Q&A. Father Dubois' presentation will begin with a video. Please direct your attention to the screens.
And she said, "Oh, I will show you." And she put her boots, she put her jacket, and she brought us at the end of the village, and she showed 18 small mass graves. She told me I dreamt all my life to find somebody to say what I did. She was 14 years old, Ukrainian, and the morning when the German arrived, they called 10 girls and with a spade. And she asked her mom, "Must I go?" And the mom told her, "If you don't go, we will shoot you." And so she was forced to walk on the corpse between every shooting, to pack the corpse, to make space. And she said, suddenly all my schoolmates, Jewish schoolmates arrived, and I had to walk on them. My mom came back from the market and she told us we have to suit very well because they killed the Jews this afternoon. So they were suited and they went, and she said for the first shooting we got a very good place. We saw everything. But for the second shooting we didn't get a good place. The Jewish women, before being killed, they threw their jewels because they don't want to give them to the German. And sometimes we find Magen David, wedding rings, medallion. And I say, it's the last gesture that this girl did in 42, just before she was shot. And every time I find it, I say, we found you, finally we found you. I never pray because it's to respect the Jewish identity of these people, so I never make a prayer. The fact is to say, finally we found you. Me, when I go with my team, I say, don't forget the dead people are waiting for you. They wait for us since 70 years. When you were sure you were not Jew, you were not gypsy, you were not gay, you were not communist, you were not partisan, why you would be afraid? So you went to watch. People are attracted to go to watch people being killed when if they think they have no risk for them. One lady, by example, she told me, I went to see all the shooting. It was 17, and she was a teenager. And I said, why did you stay to see all these shootings? And she said, it was interesting for the children. And I heard this phrase now hundreds of times, interesting for the children. I realized also that everybody could be a killer, everybody could be a victim. When I knock at the door in Russia, Ukraine, or anywhere, they open the door, and I don't know at that moment if they save Jews or kill Jews. And I would discover that in the interview. And me, when I was younger, I was thinking that the killers had awful faces, were psychotic, were monsters, and the saviors were nice people. Unfortunately, it's only one humankind. And so, everybody can be a killer, everybody can be a victim. It's why we have to teach people to say, one day you have to take responsibility. Sometimes you can think in America you are in a bubble of protection, but that's not true. There is only one planet, and it's burning in so many countries. Be aware, when it begins, it's a disease. The people who spread their disease are smart also. We are never to underestimate the enemies. It's a big mistake. When I was young, people told me, don't speak to deniers. They're old. You have not to speak with them. They will disappear. They are still old, but suddenly there arrive new deniers now who are 40 years old, 45 years old, who are driving crowds of people behind themselves. So I learned, I say, what a mistake. And I say, you must stay in a fighting position. The worst would be to sleep well and to dream, because you will wake up in a nightmare. The people who saved Jews, most of them were simple people. And we had a lot of Jews who survived of France because thousands of French took risk to hide them. So I always say, I believe in minority. I believe in minority. We stand up and carry the flag, and after we can draw people behind them. So, for example, when I teach in Georgetown or we teach in other places, I always say, one day perhaps you will be part of this minority.
Good evening, everybody. So perhaps you are surprised that you come to an Holocaust ceremony, and it's a guy who is coming from France with big introduction. So, you know, when I decided to be a priest, I was completely far from that. I wanted to be missionary in Africa. And the church always told me, you will go in Africa. But suddenly the memory of my grandpa, who has been deported to Ravaruska in 1942 as a French, came in my memory. It was in Poland. I was preparing a pilgrimage to meet the Pope John Paul II with French students. So it had nothing to do. And I made a mistake. It was the night, and I was lost. And I asked to the people, where am I? And people told me, you are near Ravaruska. So I realized in 1 minute, I was near the camp of my grandpa. And that Holocaust was the key of my life. I decided to study. I went 7 times in Jerusalem, in Yad Vashem. But after I said it didn't happen in Jerusalem, I have to go back there. And so since 20 years now, we go back again, and again. We have interviewed more than 8,000 non-Jews present at the shootings, and we have found more than 2,700 extermination sites. So I will try to explain you. I think if we could put the map behind me, I think. I don't know if it's feasible. Eva? So I will explain you what we found, but after I will try to raise a human question behind, because you cannot investigate on the shooting of 2 million people in public without questions. So you must understand, in this part of Europe that you see here, every dot is an extermination site that we found. So we worked in 10 countries. We worked in Poland, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, Romania, Russia, Belarus. And so the Germans were going from city to city, village to village. We never found a village where they didn't go. So what did they do? They have the map of the Jews. So before, they send one person alone in the village. And people don't understand why this German is coming alone. In fact, this German is an architect and is in charge of digging the mass grave. So he goes to the city hall, he asks how many Jews are still alive, and he will calculate the volume of the mass grave to dig. In the village of Ravaruska, the guy, he asked a truck of Jews, and he asked them to dig. So they began to dig 2 mass graves, and after, they began to be tired. So the German said to the Jews, go out of the grave, and secretly, somebody put explosive underground. And after a break, they said to the Jews, go on digging, and all the Jews exploded. And now, another witness, she came to me, her name was Maria, and she told me, Father, I was asked to climb in the trees, to take the pieces of corpse of the Jews, and to hide them with branches, so that the next Jew will not see it. And after, they brought trucks and trucks and trucks of Jews. In 1 day and a half, in this small mass grave, they shot 1,500 Jews, only with 2 shooters and 3 pushers. Why pushers? Because they established a law. If somebody was too slow, like somebody was old or disabled, or somebody was a baby, they pushed him and he was buried alive. And after, in every village, people told me the mass grave took 3 days to move. You know, we began with Marco. Marco is my director and my friend. You can applaud him because he works with me since 25 years. You can stand up. He came from Guatemala, and the Cardinal of Paris, Lustiger, told me, you must exfiltrate him and take him in Yarat. And so, what do we do when we arrive in a village? First, we work on archives. So we know in the village if they shot more or less 10 Jews or 45,000 Jews. It's the biggest place. When we have the archives, we arrive at 6 o'clock in the morning, like the German, and we send the people who knock at the door of the old people. And we ask this simple question, were you here during the war? And if the lady says yes, say, you were present at the killing of the Jews? And if she says yes, say, oh, we came from far to find the mass grave. Do you accept to speak? And if the person says yes, a team jumps in and we make an interview. It's not an interview of memory. It's like cold case. It's like criminal mind. It's to find what happened, what kind of crime, who did it, where did they shoot, did they kill the babies or not, did they rape the woman, etc., etc. And all that is accessible in an interactive map. I will show you, Eva, if you can pinpoint of Ravaruska. You can find any village, you see, it's accessible. She's working on a map with online, you can use it yourself. So, you must understand the Germans took a lot of pictures. They were very proud. So that's a picture that they took when they entered in the city. And you see the name of the city and a German with a motorcycle. Next. Next. They also took pictures of themselves with tanks. So you must understand, nothing was secret. They were photographed always. Photographed with army, photographed during the shootings, photographed during, except the rape. When they were raping a girl, of course, no picture. Next. That's the camp where my grandpa was. Next. Can you go to the witness, Eva? No, not this one, the lady. Yeah. So this, before listening to her, this lady, she was a child, and she was passing every day to go to school in front of the shooting place, and she was watching. And she accepted to speak. You must understand, we put in the online a small part of interview. One interview can be 3-4 hours, and if you write to Yarad in Paris, they can send you the material, because I know many of you are from these villages. We can listen. You see, she was 9 years old.
В синагогу ту, у нас була церква єврейська, нижче там ходили молити, то в той день то їх всіх німців обступили і вигнали звідтам, і так вели їх на розстріл, так само, з тієї синагоги, де вони там були. О, так само.
А ви саме скільки раз ви бачили розстріли?
Та почти кожен раз, бо то ми діти зі школи виходили, йшли, то бачили, знаєте, то ще дивились ми, то ведуть з того дому, то з того дому ведуть, на розстріл їх вели, просилище бідні, страшне просилище. Спасайте нас, ну. Як хтось підійшов до єврея, щось хотів помочи, чи щось йому дати, чи їсти, чи що. Зараз німець забирав і стріляв ту людину, то ніхто не йшов, бо боялись люди. Ну.
Німці ходили за євреями шукати їх, і до кожного будинку заходили, виводили з будинку.
Так.
І скільки німців було? Скільки заходило в будинок?
5, 6, отак во. І стояли зараз коло будинку, стояли багато. Було з 10 чоловік озброєні, і все. Обкружували зараз ту місцевість, де вони заходили шукати. Ну.
Коли німці приходять в дім, так, за євреями, то вони їх виводять і зразу йдуть до ями, чи їх багато, їх збирають, а потім ведуть?
Як один-два, то ні, тримають їх, окружили і пільнують, а решту йдуть, шукають знов і виведуть там 10 чоловік чи скільки, туди ведуть їх, туди на розстріл. А потім вже в останній час то по дому вели. Як взяли, значить, зараз 3 днів чи 4 і ведуть на розстріл. А та яма велика, там дуже було, там народу море.
А от ввечері, вже як постріляли євреї, то вони закривали ту яму, чи...
Ні, та де? Не закривали, бо вони вдень знов ходили, знов. То так було десь цілий місяць. В ту яму звозили, збирали і туди возили їх, а потім вже загорнули бульдозером, загорнули ту яму і все.
А як коли стріляли євреїв, їх перед тим роздягали?
Let's stop here, Eva.
Роздягатися чи ні?
Ні.
So you can find online thousands and thousands of witnesses, but also pieces of archives, everything to show it was a crime. So that's my first point. You must understand the German came from any city in Germany. All the leaders of the team of shooters had a PhD, except one, because Himmler said you need to have a high-level comprehension of German law. So it was not a lack of education. The leaders were highly educated. These people did that during 2 years, 3 years, every day. Every day. And they made the report the same evening to Berlin to say how many Jews they have killed. So my first question is, how is it that young Germans from Stuttgart, from Köln, from Berlin, from Munich spent 3 years officially fighting the communists and in fact killing civilians because they were Jews, Roma, or disabled? Why we never found a place where they let a baby alive or an old grandma? I will give you an example. In a village, they have arrested all the Jews, and suddenly a policeman said it missed a baby. So the German entered in the farm and he saw the baby hidden under the bed. But it was too far. He could not take it. So he said, I don't care. He took a pistol, he shot the baby under the bed, and he went. We never found a case where they let somebody alive. Never one. Secondly, they were trained. They were trained to arrive early in the morning in a village and to lie and to say to the people, we deport you in Palestine. Take all your belongings, all your bags, it will be far away. So the people, they try to believe it. They put all their coats, they put their jewels, their money, everything, their key, thinking perhaps they go to Palestine. And after they make them by line 5 per 5. Why 5 per 5? Because there was a counter to give the real number of victims. And suddenly an official is coming and say, direction Palestine. So the Jews had to walk. In the middle of the other population was watching. And suddenly, no Palestine, turn right, turn left, and they will go to a mass grave. So they have been asked to undress because the German wants the money. And after they will shoot them 5 per 5, 10 per 10. Why? 5 if there are 5 shooters, 10 shooters, because they established a law, one bullet, one Jew, one bullet. It was an economy of ammunition. When people are all dead or alive, they bury them and they leave. Immediately, they will gather all the belongings of the Jews, and the next day sell them by auction. Who wants a jacket, who wants a pant, who wants shoes, etc., etc. And in every village, people told us, after 3 days, everybody was dressed like a Jew. You must understand that a genocide is to kill everybody, but is to take everything. The SS was not a non-profit. They never let anything. And it's why also they could be helped by the neighbors, because when you know you will get the house. I remember I entered one day in a big house in Ukraine, and the guy told me it was a Jewish house. I said, "Can you show me?" He said, "Yes." I say, "How did you get the house?" He said, "Oh, there was one baby, the head smashed on a wall, and a teenager with a bullet. They were dead, so I took the house." It was smelling weird. I went out, and the neighbor, a woman, she told me, he's lying. He has put all the Jews in his garden." And she jumped in the garden of the man, and she said, "Under my feet are the Jews." So I re-entered in the farm, and the guy said, "It's true." And he began to write on the wall the list of the name of the Jews if they killed themselves. It was legal to kill Jews. Legal to kill Jews by the German, legal to kill Jews by the neighbor. So why it worked? Because they knew each other, they spoke the same language. You know, it took me a lot of years with my team the same to understand what is making propaganda in a brain. These people were completely under propaganda, but the Jews were not human. They were nearly like animals, like rats. And you can say, okay, it was propaganda. No, they saw them like that. It changed the eyes. I will show you an example. I was in Poland, and it's the beginning of my investigation. And it was a village with a camp where they killed 500,000 Jews. And I interviewed the priest, an old priest from Poland, and he saw everything from the roof of the church. And I asked him, "Father, it was not too difficult to see that every day, 500,000 Jews killed?" I will never forget his answer. And he was a good man. He was not a racist. He told me, "You know, it was difficult for me because my mother couldn't bear the smoke. She was headache, and I lost all my afternoon to take care of my mother." So that was the only problem. It was the smoke. But to see 500,000 people killed in front of him, no problem. So the propaganda changed your mind, changed your brain, changed your feeling, changed everything. It's why in every country, everybody was okay to kill Jews. They were no more human. But also you got the house, and you got the girl, and you got the money. I say that because the genocide is not only to kill, it's to steal, it's to rape. So you must understand it has been difficult. Marco is one of the only survivors to have stayed 25 years with me. Many people didn't survive. They took another job. I have 2 employees, they became Buddhists. So I think it will be the good exit. So, because you understand, when you listen these stories, 6 hours, 7 hours per day, it enters in you. Sometimes you don't feel it, but sometimes you feel it. I will give you an example. I was in a village, and I saw a couple. They were shaking a lot, so I was thinking they were Parkinson. So I opened the window, and I say, "Were you here during the war?" And the guy, he began to cry. And he says, "Yes, I saw everything." So I opened my camera, they were in the street. And the man, he said, in my village, they have killed the Jews before, but they kept 2 Jews alive. A mother, Anna, they kept her alive because she was working for somebody, and her son named Istrik. And the man, he said, I was the same age than Istrik, so I played with him in the snow, we were going to school, and suddenly, the German, by a phone call, they asked a German Soviet to come and kill. It was not a professional killer, so he came with his basic gun. So Anna, she was begging not to be shot. She was kneeling in front of him, but he shot Anna 1 bullet in the head. And at that moment, Istrik realized the guy was killing his mom, so he ran away making like that and yelling, "Mama, mama." And the shooter took 5 times to kill him. He undressed Anna and Istrik to take all the belongings, and he burned them with sunny flowers. And we were making this interview in a beautiful field of sunny flowers. I will never forget, because when we came back in our car, we were completely silent. It was not the Jews, it was Anna, it was a child, but we saw until the last minute. And also the killer was a farmer from German origin. So I say that because my organization, we need to finish. We have still 1 year to find the last witnesses. But now we have to teach. We have to transmit to new generations. Myself, I am teaching in Georgetown University, but Eva, who is there, is teaching in many schools and universities in America, and Marco is coordinating the teaching in Guatemala and in Paris, in France. Why do we have to teach? Why? You know, for the new generation, it's far away. My students, when they begin, they know nothing about Holocaust. They know 2 names, Hitler, Auschwitz, but nothing else. And always my classes are full. And I say, why do you come? And I always say, because we need to know what to do. Because anti-Semitism is coming back, but also mass violence are everywhere. And we need to be proactive. So I don't teach story of Hitler, Himmler, Goebbels, they don't care. For them, it's story of grandpa, far away. I teach them how the crime was in a village. And to confront them to archives, to propaganda, to witnesses. And suddenly they say, now I understand. I understand that you can manipulate a population, bring a unit, kill everybody, and it will be okay. And many of my students are making a changing life experience because every year we bring them in, this year in Romania, but before in Poland, before in Belarus, to meet the witnesses on the ground. And Eva does the same, and Marco does the same in Paris. So this challenge of teaching, it's an emergency. Because today, you know, a young student, he will never meet a survivor. It's rare. It's rare. So the story has gone in history and no more in responsibility. So I will finish by this fragility of humanity. Because I say to my students, you are well educated, you have a good family, you are in a Jesuit university, everything is okay. But if one day you are a diplomat, you are a businessman in a country of shootings and extermination, what will you do? What will you do? And perhaps you will completely change your mind and become a bad guy. Recently, I went, like 1 year ago, I went in Israel and I visited the kibbutz Be'eri, where Hamas did nearly the same. I will never forget, I was visiting a house that was burnt, and a survivor was with me, and she told me a mother was helping children not to be killed. and she was blocking the door with these 5, 6 children in a house. So Hamas, when they saw that, they put liquid on the house, they burned the house, so she had to go out with all the children, and she has been shot with all the children. And it was that house after house. And I realized, because I work also in Iraq, I realized that Hamas people have not a Nazi ideology, but an Islamist ideology. It was no more a baby. It was no more a lady. It was no more a man. It was nobody. It was somebody that you have to extract from the planet by any means and by any violence. It's why we have to teach. As I say to people, when I see shootings in France or that, I say you can be right side politically, left side politically. If somebody is shooting at you, you will not, it will be the same bullet. So, dear friends, I came here because after so many years, 25 years that we do that, we say that we have to teach Holocaust, not to teach Holocaust. We have to teach Holocaust to heal the planet. Anti-Semitism is back for different motivations. Hate is back. Dictators are back. Me, you know, I worked in Russia. I work in Belarus, countries where I cannot go anymore. It's a war, and I would be arrested. The planet is completely moving in a bad direction. So, I'm sorry to bring you bad news, but I will finish by a joke. I was giving a conference in Los Angeles. It was a beautiful ceremony with a lot of limousine waiting at the end. And one lady approached me and said, "Father, I listened to you yesterday, but I couldn't sleep." I say, "Ma'am, perhaps it's the beginning of conscience." So if today, after that, you don't sleep, you are very welcome to work with Yaradinum. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage Rabbi Katie Bowman of Touro Synagogue, who will lead the Q&A with Father Dubois.
Oh, there we go. That's better, right? It seems very loud. Father Dubois, thank you so much for this powerful presentation tonight and for your work. It's an honor to speak with you and to ask you some questions that have been prepared and also those that have come from the group tonight. I want to begin our conversation just by expressing our community's condolences upon the loss of Pope Francis. We appreciate the many times that he has reached out to the Jewish community and been such a symbol of peace and compassion. And so we mourn with you and your community.
About the passing of the Pope, I had to speak to many journalists in my country, and I say, do you realize, one day before he died, he was speaking to the public, he had difficulty to speak, and one part of his speech is to say, we have to be careful because anti-Semitism is everywhere. I say, you don't imagine. You can look at the 2,000 years before. Never a pope, one day before to die, was worried about anti-Semitism.
So I'd like to begin by asking you to go a little deeper into how you found this to be your calling. As you shared, you thought you would be doing something quite different with your life, with your vocation. How did you know that this is what you were meant to be doing?
You know, many times I have been asked that question. It depends If you are a psychoanalyst, you will say, oh, everything from the grandfather. He transmitted you everything and you carry this weight. If you are religious, you say it could be God's call because my life changed in one night. In Poland, at the border of Ukraine, suddenly it happened that Holocaust was the key of my life and that I had to change everything. And third, also, you can say I had the benediction that the Cardinal of Paris was a Jew, Cardinal Lustiger. He was converted. So he supported this initiative a lot because his mother has been killed in Auschwitz and the rest of the family has been shot also in Beijing. And even Marco, who is here, has been recruited by Cardinal Lustiger. So without that, we wouldn't be able to build the Arad in Unum. So it's a mix of different things. But when we wake up, you must decide again to do it. Because as I say, when you work in what we work, you control your day, but you don't control your nights. And sometimes you have dreams and nightmares who are not very nice to remember.
As you've shared both personally and also your reflection on those who have worked with you in the past and had to stop, this is incredibly painful work to come into to encounter what we might call the banality of evil, what people are capable of doing to one another, and how flexible and moldable our minds are. How do you process and cope with the emotional challenge of confronting this truth?
First, you must understand that during the interview, we show nothing. We are poker face. At the end, by example, one day I interviewed a Romanian man. He has killed himself 123 Jews. And he didn't know at the end of the interview on which side I was. I will never forget, I asked him, are you sure you killed them yourself? And he began to say, of course, I was the highest rank. It's only me. And his only problem was the weight of the machine gun. But when he finished the interview, he was very old. He walked me to the street and said, Father, I wish you long life. So what was difficult is that before me, I imagined that a family of killers couldn't be nice. Couldn't be nice. And when I enter in a family, I don't know if they kill Jews or save Jews. Same nice, welcome, Father, you sit down. I will give you an example. One day I made a mistake. It was in Poland. I knocked at the back door. I was looking for a woman, and it's a man who opens. He said, oh, you are a priest, come in. And I say, yes, but I come because I'm looking for somebody who was present at the king. He said, my father was. So the father went to speak, and he said, they were killing Jews, and 3 Jews escaped from the mass grave, but I could catch them and bring them back to be shot. And he made a long testimony, and after he showed a small mass grave that he did himself. And the worst is that the family after came to me and said, Father, could we get a copy of the DVD to have a souvenir of Grandpa? There is no shame in a genocide. We worked in Soviet Union. We work in Guatemala for Conflicto Armado. We work in Iraq. We work in Ukraine now with the attack of the Russians. There is no shame. When ideology tells you to do it, you are proud. It was a good old time, even 70 years after you. Never one time, after 9,000 interviews, somebody asked me for forgiveness. Never one time.
How do you understand that as a religious person and as a humanist?
I think, unfortunately, anybody can be a good guy, anybody can be a bad guy. When I say bad guy, it means a killer. And these people, they have been so proud to serve humanity in cleaning the planet. I interview people in Iraq. One young also, he has killed more than 100 people. And I saw it was true because he was smiling during all the interview. And so humanity is like that. It's why we have to teach new generation, because we don't know where the planet is going. And you don't know where the young people will have to be. And if suddenly they are appointed in a country where killing is accepted, You know, you are American. You remember this young American girl who was working in the jail of Abu Ghraib in Iraq, and she was in all the TV with naked men that she was mistreating, and she took pictures. Now she's in jail. I always say to my students, I'm sure this girl is normal. I'm sure this girl is not a bad person, but nobody told her, be careful, you will be appointed in a jail, be careful, perhaps you will wake up differently. And so that's what we have to teach. Evil is not outside of us. Evil is not outside of us, and if suddenly you are in a country where you are mistreating people legally, I can tell you, Hitler never missed workers in any country. He always find people to kill the Jews, always.
I think in a lot of Holocaust education over the years, there has been an attempt to talk about what is monstrous about the perpetrators, like you were saying, that you have not found, that you can look in the face of one of these people and you would know that this is a terrible person, this is a monster of a person, and you haven't found that.
No.
That you haven't found that to be true, and I
No,
wonder.
sometimes we have an interview with a killer, and the family is cooking, and at the end say, we prepare food for you, Father. So I can tell you, sometimes my team say, no, we don't stay in this family, they are awful. And sometimes we stay.
Will you share what that is like when you talk about that with your students, with your young people whom you find it an emergency to teach? How do you communicate to them that this can come from anyone?
First, I put them in a position of investigation. I show them a place of mass crime, evidence. We are not here to cry. We are to take responsibility. And the students who choose my course, or we take class with Eva or with the people in Paris, it's the same. It's why we want to take responsibility. And they don't know what to do. They are motivated by that, but they don't know what to do. And so I told them at the end, you know, Georgetown is a very good university. And I say, you can make your life with money only. Everything will be okay. But you can make your life with money and a purpose. And actually, the planet is missing young people who have a purpose in their life. And you can choose both. So I encourage them to make positive decisions and not only to look for a good salary.
Have there been any unexpected gifts or blessings in the work that you do? I mean, do you find little shards of light ever?
Sometimes, family who saved people. I remember I was in a family and the interview was finished, and the wife of the witness told me, you forgot to say to the priest you saved Jews. I said, oh yes, I forgot. So we reopened the camera, and he has saved 5 Jews in his house. And he was so poor, he couldn't rebuild the wall when the Jews were hidden. So the good people don't show themselves. They feel it absolutely normal, what they did. And very frequently, they forget even to say it. So, but we are not completely optimistic, because I am in Europe, we have the war in Ukraine, which is not far, we have many problems around us. So if you open the French TV, you cannot be optimistic.
We're acquainted somewhat, I think. As a priest, what do you feel you bring to this work because of your religious knowledge and training?
You know, first in my team, not everybody is Catholic. Marco is still a Protestant after 25 years with me, so big unsuccess, you know. So, it's true that me, when I was young, I discovered the faith, and I found the book of Mother Teresa, and I took a flight ticket and I went to work with Mother Teresa in Calcutta. So, and the next day I was carrying a woman who was pregnant and died with a baby in a place, and I did that during 3 months. to help people to die in good condition. And we were not sad. And I will never forget two things. Many people asked to Mother Teresa, 500,000 people are dying in Calcutta. And she said, I never saw 500,000. I only saw one. And for me, it's the same. When people call me a big globality, national, I say, I'm simple people. I'm on the ground. I only saw one. And the other thing, Mother Teresa, because I was not a priest, I was a student, and I wanted to make my decision. And she told me, if you pray, if God is calling you, He will never let you. So that's a big conviction I have every day in my prayers to say, don't forget, He will never let you.
We have a Jewish teaching, imagine you're familiar with, that every person is an entire world, and to kill one person is to kill an entire world, and to save one person is to save an entire world.
Yeah.
It sounds like that is true. That has been in front of your eyes for all these years.
But we do that. In Guatemala, we educate people. We opened the first Holocaust Museum in Central America. We educate young generations to fight against violence, to fight against anti-, to make a beautiful country. So that's also the positive part. We are in education. So in education, you know, we are looking for the future in a positive way, But we have to cultivate concretely a minority who will stand when they're adults. So that's a big challenge, to give the people the tool to say, we have to stand up, we have not to make a regular life.
I'd like to ask you...
I wonder how many questions she has. I'm a little bit
afraid. Not too many. Not too
There's
many.
like a book of questions. And as she's rabbi, she can double the questions.
Yeah. This is a question from the audience. When you find the mass graves, what is done with, is there anything that's done with the remains or the belongings that you find, and what is it like to stand there?
It's a complicated question. It depends where. In some countries that I will not name, people are reopening the mass grave to look for gold teeth. So the bones are everywhere. So we find it because the bones are outside. In some country also, they decided to put the garbage on the corpse. So where are the garbage of the Jews? What we take the GPS of the place, and it's why we could make this map. But we don't put a marker, because people will jump after us and reopen to look for gold. So what we do actually, many families like you are writing to us and say, where is my grandma? Where is my uncle? Where is the rabbi? So we give the localization, and we help also with local people. So many families from America have decided to go there and say for first time Kaddish on the place. Because their family didn't disappear. They have been assassinated by somebody that they can find. So we are helping families with that, and for me it's a big, big affair to give back the dead to the family.
Is there any spiritual practice or prayer that you have when you realize you're standing in a place like that?
We don't make any Christian prayer because it's a Jewish place, and we have to respect the identity of the victims. So we never organize a prayer. But when we bring students from France or from America in a place like that, when there are Jews amongst the students, the Jews say Kaddish on every place. And for a Jew, a young student, to say Kaddish on a mass grave with 2,000, 1,000 people, it's changing their mind. And they say to their parents, hear what we did yesterday. But only a Jew can say Kaddish.
It's another question from the audience, a gathering here. What would you say to those who are too scared to stand up and denounce those who are spreading hate and who fear retribution in a place maybe like where you live or where we live, where it feels like things are changing and we're not sure what is safe?
For the Jews, I say, don't dream. Don't dream because you will awake in a nightmare. You know, I come with Marco, Eva in America since 20 years. In France, when you have such a meeting, you need army outside to protect the place. You need to block the street and army. So I say to American Jews, don't wait to be in the same situation. Don't dream, because the hate of Jews is not only an ideology, it's a criminal ideology. So anybody can take an idea to take a machine gun and to do something bad. But most of the time I feel that the level of security of Jewish community here is very weak, very weak. And for me, being from France or Germany, it's frightening. Because for us, you must understand, you cannot park your car in front of a synagogue. It's protected day and night, because anything can happen. And when we go, for example, to an official ceremony with the Jews, like Rosh Hashanah or something like that, when we go out, the police say, go away, don't stay in group, in case there is an attack. So it's completely another situation. And so I know that I love America, but I know that the people who hate the Jews are also here.
When you speak to students who are not Jewish, or people who maybe don't identify as being a part of a vulnerable population, how do you encourage them to move beyond their fear, to stand up and to be in solidarity?
You know, people come to my class is people who have the courage to do something. One day I did a class about the killing of disabled people, and one student per three was disabled. So for me it was a very moving experience, but all these people wanted to do something, and I gave a lot of time to them. So I'm optimist. You have a young generation in America who is very generous, and also the family accept that they do something. I will give you an example. One of my students, he decided to be FBI, and he was from a wealthy family. So I said, their family she didn't agree. He said, oh, we saw the family, say, we are very proud of our son. That, in America, you have that. You don't have that in Europe. And so, I feel a strong generosity and a strong push from the family to do something well for their children. So cultivate that. If you cultivate what is good, it will grow. There is a generosity in America that doesn't exist everywhere.
Very moved, and I'm winding down, but very moved by your characterization of it. Teaching being an emergency, being one of our highest calling, is sitting in front of...
Teaching is an emergency, is to teach, to act, is not to know the past, is not to know in which year Hitler has been elected, is to know what I can do after, what I can do. One of my best students, he became this month a doctor. And I told him, you will be specialized? He said, yes, I will study now psychiatry. I say, I know him since a long time. I say, Alex, you will study psychiatry? Why? He says, because I see so many people who need strong help and strong healing, so I want to dedicate my life for that. That's the result.
Well, I want to acknowledge as the evening comes to a close that we are in the presence of many people, including our survivors here, who have made it your life's work to be a part of that moving of the next generation, teaching them, telling your story amidst great pain, to be sure that they understand what I think you, Father Dubois, have seen so many times in your team with your own eyes, that a perpetrator can be anyone, and a hero can be anyone.
Also anyone.
Can be anyone. So I think that is a very powerful takeaway.
But don't forget, if you don't sleep well, it's a very good sign.
Yeah, right. Right.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi Bowman, and thank you, Father Dubois, for a sobering but poignant conversation. Tonight we honor and remember 6 million Jews who were killed during the war, including the 2 million individuals who were murdered in the Holocaust by bullets. As we mark the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II, their memories will live on through the work of Father Dubois and the Yahad in Unum, and through programs and community gatherings like this one. It is striking to me with you today and this evening how important both of our work is to educate. Father Dubois will join us for a book signing over here to your right. At the conclusion of this program, his books are available for purchase right over here. And special thanks to Father Cunningham and Loyola University for their partnership and support of tonight's program. I'd again like to thank Karen Rubin and the Rubin family for their generosity in supporting programs like this that help educate future generations on the Holocaust. And thanks to each of you for joining us here tonight, whether you're online or in person. Please take care, and we look forward to seeing you again next time here at the National World War II Museum. Good evening.